Well, we got a highlight video here for you, a highlight game on ATS.io radio. Taking a look at Tennessee on the road at South Carolina. The Gamecocks will have a certain level of capacity there. There will be some fans in attendance for this game in Columbia, but the SEC starting here this week, Kyle, and obviously that's going to bring a lot of public money into the marketplace on those games. And I think this one is especially interesting here. Take a look at the most recent line that we've got. And we've got Tennessee here, a 3-point favorite on the road against South Carolina. And a Tennessee team that played very well in the second half of last year, a South Carolina team that played one of the toughest schedules in college football and did fall short of a bowl game.
Yeah, I have this line a little bit higher. I have this Tennessee -4 here. And I did consider Tennessee when I saw 2.5 last night. I think that South Carolina is a team that really is going to be hurt a lot by Marshawn Lloyd being out for the year at running back. Um, I know you're a Gamecocks fan as well. So don't you think that they were basically going to run the offense through him? I mean, even though he was a freshman and he was going to be a newbie, they were going to set up this offense to run through Lloyd. So now they kind of have to figure something else out, right?
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. And the interesting thing here with the new offensive coordinator in Mike Bobo, they don't go with Ryan Hilinski. They go with Colin Hill, who was at Colorado State when Bobo was the head coach there. And maybe that's a decision to a degree predicated on the fact that Lloyd's not out there. Maybe they want a quarterback more accustomed with this system. And Hilinski had some good and some bad last year. And I do kind of wonder if maybe he transfers out now. I mean, obviously, coming from a long way away, got away from Washington State, certainly the death of his older brother, Tyler, with the tragic suicide, he goes out to South Carolina and, maybe sort of tries to, in a way, get away from it all and now doesn't get the job, starting his sophomore season after taking a lot of lumps last year as a freshman, almost out of necessity because the Gamecocks had no offense to speak of whatsoever. Now they go with Hill, and maybe in the short term, that's something that helps, but long term, I don't think that's a great move for the South Carolina program. And I wonder if that kind of plays itself out a little bit here with the offense early on in the year.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was pretty surprised. I don't think Colin Hill was really that good at Colorado State. And I'm surprised that he could come to South Carolina and beat out Hilinski. I know, like you said, Hilinski was kind of up and down last year, but he didn't have great talent around him. He didn't have a great offensive line in front of him. So, and they played a really tough schedule, like you said. I think they played the toughest schedule in the country. So, if you look at South Carolina making these big changes to the offense, I don't know that it's going to work very well. Bobo, an interesting hire. I know they're going to play slower this year. They're going to huddle up. I would look to play some unders with South Carolina this year because I do think that the totals will probably be a bit too high. I think it's 47 in the marketplace here for this game. I was hoping for higher than that. I would like the under in this game. 47's a little lower than I would want to take. Tennessee, I think they have a really solid talent base and a really good offensive line. That's what differentiates them from South Carolina, in my opinion, is they're stronger in the trenches. Tennessee, not great quarterback play either. They don't have any great quarterback. I think Bailey, who's either the backup or third string here at Tennessee, will be very good in the future. But Jarrett Garantano, a pretty good quarterback, but nothing wonderful about him. A couple things that stood out to me about this game. Tennessee scored a touchdown only 48.9% of their trips into the red zone last year. That's a big problem. They got to do a lot better than that this year. They're not going to take the jump up that some people think that they could. I would expect that will improve because it's hard to be that bad in the red zone again. On the other side, South Carolina only had 47 plays of 20 yards or more last year, which was 110th in the nation. Tennessee's defense only allowed 39 plays of 20 yards or more, which was third in the nation. So they're very good at not giving up big plays. I think that probably continues this year. I don't think there's many big plays from South Carolina in this game. Don't really think Tennessee is going to get that many big plays either. I think there's going to be a lot of running and moving clock in this game. So Tennessee plays pretty slowly. Like I said, South Carolina played pretty fast last year. I think they'll play slower this year. My favorite play in this one is the under. I lean toward Tennessee. I think that South Carolina is probably going to have a bit of a down season again. I don't think they're just going to be able to fix it by putting Colin Hill in there and bringing Mike Bobo in. So I think it'll still be difficult. And really, South Carolina's schedule is still pretty tough this year. So it's not like they're getting much of a break.
No, I think we have a consensus opinion here. I like the under in this game as well. I do think South Carolina will play slower. They don't have the same explosiveness at wideout. They've had some very, very good wide receivers come through that program, like a Debo Samuel, like an Alshon Jeffrey, like a Bruce Ellington. They don't really have those guys right now. This is a team that, I think offensively they will kind of, regress probably 10 or 12 years here with Bobo running slower, a lot more traditional running, maybe some play action type stuff. If Colin Hill can make those throws, maybe it helps the offense, but you've got two defensive-minded guys here in Pruitt and Muschamp, where I think both of their defenses will be ahead of their offenses, in part because of the quarterback play, but just because that's what those two guys excel at. And I think Tennessee will clearly be the better team throughout the course of the season. My number's 3.5 here, so you're at 4. I'm at 3.5. Lean Tennessee in that regard. If it gets below 3, may take a piece of Tennessee. But I do think the under is the way to look here. I think these two teams, with the defensive-minded coaches, the former coordinators, will be pretty technically sound. I think that they will have focused a lot on the fundamentals, on tackling angles. I've watched Muschamp a couple times with those coaches' film room broadcasts for national championship games or semifinals or whatever else, and he's always preaching those things, tackling angles, and you're just sort of looking at where the running back is lined up to see if it's a run play or a pass play. I think he'll pay very close attention to those details here because he doesn't know what he's going to get from his offense. So I think the under is the way to look here in this Tennessee-South Carolina matchup.
Yep, that's the only way I'd bet this game unless Tennessee goes down more. Like you said, maybe 2 or 2.5. I lean toward Tennessee a little bit more strongly. I don't like laying points on the road when we haven't seen a data point, really. So I know that this season's different, not as much home field advantage, but still, laying points on the road early in the season is a bit dangerous. And I would just say that, I think this number is pretty low already at the total, but I don't think this one will go up. So most people know that South Carolina is going to play slower. Tennessee is going to run the football a lot. So, 47 is probably still a pretty good number here.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely one I would look to jump on early on in the week here. And we'll have some more highlight videos from this Monday edition of ATS.io Radio, including a look at key numbers in the NFL